sometimes in Power Rangers and Super Sentai, I can't wait for the big mecha battle to be over at the end of the episode because it's the same thing every single time. And I'm not sure why I get so tired of it and why it's so boring, but that happens from time to time. In this episode of Omega, episode 3, I had a boringness of a different kind that I had to deal with, and it was really interesting because I didn't remember disliking this episode as much as I did, but I think watching the dub of it let me know. It took away all the mystique of hearing people speak in Japanese and having me read their words on the subtitles to see what they're saying, to realize, yeah, this is like a very dry episode. And I find that funny because I think that Super Rare Productions is the classiest outfit in tokusatsu, or Henshin Hero stories. And their stories of transforming heroes don't rely on things being super poppy. They don't have, anyway, they're not relying on Va-Va-Voom from the female cast, typically. They're not relying on the guys having crazy hair or makeup or costumes, other than, the Ultra costume and, the Guts militaristic uniform or whatever, Guts Select. There's not a lot of, it's a very, vanilla show. And then there's a giant of light fighting kaiju, which is very cool. And it kind of makes sense to me because there's a little bit of a balance there that's being stricken between, this is people in a normal-ish world with extraordinary things in it, and we get to see them rise to extraordinary heights and rise to extraordinary challenges, which is really cool. I love that concept. I think it's neat that they call the transformation of Ultraman the Rise, and then we, had Ultraman Rising and whatever, right? So, These are kind of tropes or basic elements of what makes Ultraman Ultraman. So I like being in this vanilla world. I've been wanting to see a world without kaiju and see how kaiju coming to a world and being a new thing in the world would affect things. I almost now wonder if I wasn't hoping for that because it irritates me that, kind of like Zordon says, oh, it's the Minotaur, Rita's Minotaur. It's like, well, didn't you destroy him once before? Why is he back now? Same problem with Kiva and the Fangires, but we won't talk about that. My precious Kiva, we will set aside and excuse all its imperfections because I love it so much. But anyway, I typically don't think Ultraman is ever boring. It sometimes will be low action. Sometimes it will be maybe low stakes, but for sure low action and not a lot of escalation. Sometimes the fight happens once or twice in the episode and it's just kind of whoa, that was sudden. Okay, now that kaiju has gone from being just a weird thing or causing weird stuff to happen to it's fighting and the guy needs to transform into Ultraman and destroy it so it doesn't kill people, whatever. That's fine. But typically those episodes are still very interesting. I'm thinking about the Man in the White Mask from Arc, and there's even an episode coming up in Omega that's very subdued and emotional and personal, and it's about human connectivity and human connections, and less about epic battles and the city's in danger and things like that. And yet it was more exciting, it was more engaging, it had kind of a well, anyway, I'll talk about that when it comes to it. But this one was just kind of boring. And it's too bad because we had the ancient Chinese kaiju here. We had Rekiness show up, and there's two heroes against one enemy kaiju. You would think that would be super exciting, but it wasn't. It was very subdued. And we have this whole thing with Kosei's backstory, and he was a runner, and he realized he couldn't do it. So it's all emotional and touching, and it's nice, but it's just is this show really made for kids? This is a boring episode for kids. I would think so. I haven't checked with my kids to see if they think this one's boring. I know they've watched some of Omega, but not all of it. I know one of them would definitely like Pegunos. And also I thought Pegunos was kind of a weak kaiju. He wasn't that exciting. I like birds, but not penguins so much. They feel very much less bird-like to me. And just the way he played off, I don't know, to me it wasn't very exciting. It was probably the most disappointing episode of Omega so far. It's only 3 in, but even including I think I've seen up to 7, and just I don't know, it just falls flat. It's kind of weird. It doesn't really make sense. I don't like it. I'm not sure what happened. And I think I don't know, honestly, I think the dub made it worse. The subtitle version, I remember liking a lot more. And thinking, oh, this is really interesting, and they're crafting a world, and there's all these different things that are going on that are realistic, and it's the verisimilitude of life and whatever. And I thought oh, this is it's a literary episode of Omega, but it's just it's kind of boring. I didn't really like it, and certain things don't quite make sense, and yeah, I don't know, I find them frustrating. The coolest thing, if I want to grasp onto things to talk about, there's Rekiness. showing up, being found, whatever. It's unclear if Pegunos was looking for Rekiness because, like, and that's why he came from wherever, because he was across the sea. Maybe he was in mainland China or something like that, and then he crossed through, or, whatever. He crossed towards where they are, and he ultimately went to where Rekiness is. And I think that Saruto was smelling out or sensing Rekiness, and that's what put him, Kosei, and Ayumu all in danger of Pegunos at the end there. And, like, I like that setup, but everything around it wasn't, like, super exciting. But, trying to dig in and pull something good out of this, I guess the kaiju, Pegunos, locked onto the signal of Rekiness, and Omega did at the same time, which, again, goes more towards this idea that I think Rekiness was in Omega somehow, and all these kaiju were somehow stored in him. I don't think I've talked about this theory yet here in my dub reviews, but I'll just throw it out because it's the most exciting thing I can talk about, and I'll wrap up in a minute or two. My theory is that when he fell from whatever planet and then somehow landed to Earth, he had a bunch of kaiju stored inside of him, and he also had his meteor kaiju stored within him, which are Rekiness and maybe which we'll see later. But, like, because Rekiness has the same, pentagonal crest thing on him that Omega has, I believe they're definitely bonded to each other. They're definitely linked to each other, not just in design, but, like, we're going to find out, oh, yeah, he's like, this is his version of the reboot lance and the reboot shield and whatever. Like, this is his Ultraman gear that he has. I don't know if he'll be a full-on Ultraman or if he's whatever, because there's different dimensions and blah, 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 but that's my idea, that he was escorting these kaiju elsewhere, for whatever reason, or he was on his mission. He had a bunch of them stored within him that he captured because he did, and when he blew up that planet, it was so powerful, it knocked him out, wrecked him, it threw away his armor pieces or his accessories or whatever, and he's going to slowly collect them over the show, collect his memories, and realize that he has a mission, and we'll see what that mission is. I'm sure that mission is going to threaten the planet later that he's on, but we'll see. But that's my theory going forward, and, like, I don't know, just I like when they build the things slowly. I like when they build the things reasonably and rationally, but, like, you really do need to keep it poppy and exciting for the kids as it goes on, and I don't think they did a very good job of that this episode, and I was disappointed. So, what did you think about it overall? Oh, and then, yeah, Rekiness' design is really weird. I talk about it in a short, or I'm going to talk about it in a short, whatever. I'm going to have a short coming out after this where I talk about that. Yeah, and anyway, you can also check out my reaction short as well. Yeah, for now, let me know what you thought about this episode overall. Let me know what you thought about Rekiness. His design is very interesting. It's very Chinese-ish, and again, that's something we can discuss later. And yeah, you can check out the full playlist of me talking about Omega, as well as some other stuff. It'll be in the pinned comment. It'll be in the description as well. I've been talking about Project Red. I've been talking about Kamen Rider Zet's Weekly. I have a playlist for that as well. You can find all those links in the right places. And I look forward to hearing from you, getting your feedback on this. Do you think the Omega dub, well, whatever, do you think episode 3 of Omega is not so great? If you've seen them, like I have, the sub and dub version of it, is one better than the other? That kind of stuff. Let's discuss. And what do you think about my theory about Omega having fallen from, and all these things coming out of him? I'm curious. Anyway, that's it for now. I gotta go, folks. This is MJ with Henshin Inspection and Going Ultra, signing out.